Now, this is a deep subject, the re-education of America. We are doing an event on the book Conform, and we're doing it in 600 movie theaters. This is the first time this has ever been done this large. 600 movie theaters all across the country. We ask you to get your tickets for it now. It is a live event, July 22nd from Stage 19 here in Las Colinas. And we have all of these experts coming in. We've worked 18 months on this. Michele Malkin, who has been so great on Common Core, probably the first one out of the box on this, knows it inside and out. She is going to be joining us for this, and you don't want to miss it. This is not for the people who don't have any idea what Common Core is. These are for the ones who are like, I'm standing up in my community, and I've had enough. And you know, if you have no idea what's going on, bring your friend with you, and you can talk to him on the ride over to explain it a little bit. This is not a 101 class. This is a 201 or 301 class on Common Core, because we can win against this. Michele Malkin joins us now, but I want to talk to her about something else that she published yesterday about the Bergdahl decision. Michele, how are you?
Good. How are you, Glenn?
Very good. I read your piece yesterday. And thank you for doing your homework on this, and thank you for the information that you brought. You want to share it?
Yeah, well, I have to say thanks to the soldiers out there who have been blowing the whistle, putting their lives on the line, and who are really the ones that are holding Barack Obama accountable for what is a treacherous and traitorous decision. The thing is, 5 years ago, I first publicly raised questions about the circumstances of Bo Bergdahl's quote-unquote disappearance. And at that time, a soldier who was involved in the search got in touch with me. And I published what I believe is one of the very first public accounts of somebody on the ground who knew that he wasn't drunk, he wasn't lagging behind, all of those stories about him somehow just falling into the hands of the Taliban unintended were all untrue. And that soldier 5 years ago told me, and I published it, that, quote, Bergdahl had walked off the post with a day's supply of water and had written down before that he wanted to live in the mountains. Quote, he is an embarrassment to everyone who has worn the uniform. This was known 5 years ago, and this is just one of many, 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 many soldiers who were on the ground. And since then, we've had now, by my count, at least 3 soldiers or family members of soldiers who died who've come out publicly by name. And by my count, I've had about a half dozen people come forward who cannot be named because they still hold highly sensitive positions. And so that's what I reported in my column today, was yet another account from somebody who has high security clearance, who knows the real deal, and who has specifically named the fact that it wasn't just 6 soldiers who died during the search for Bo Bergdahl in those first weeks at the end of June, but also on July 4th, where a horrible, horrible attack on another combat outpost that was not Bo Bergdahl's, where 2 other soldiers, Justin Casillas and Aaron Fairbairn, died because, and I think if you read between the lines of what many of these people are saying who know what happened, that Bo Bergdahl allowed the guards to go down on some of these outposts because they were all out looking for him.
So, Michele, what is this really all about? Because it's so clear that this guy is not a good guy. And the president comes out, and now, what's his name on NBC? Chuck Todd comes out yesterday and says, the president and the White House, they're just shocked. They really thought America would celebrate this. I don't believe that. If that is true, it's because of the press. Nobody's ever held his feet to the fire, and so he is so out of touch with what America is and what we believe in. But he never went and rescued the guys in Benghazi. I know for a fact that as the SEAL team's going over to get Osama bin Laden, they're told, if anything happens, you guys are stuck behind enemy lines, we're not coming back for you. You call the State Department. You're on your own. So he is not a guy that says, hey, let's go get this. What is he doing? Is he emptying the prisons at Guantanamo? Is he using misdirection so we don't see that we are now not only negotiating, but we are endorsing the terrorists that have now cobbled together a coalition government with Hamas, and we have betrayed Israel this week. What is happening?
All of the above, Glenn. And I think that's why this has come to the tipping point it has. It's transparent, of course, that this desperate weekend move to look like a hero and stand by a soldier who was not left behind really was a diversionary tactic that blew up in their face because the death toll from the Veterans Affairs scandal just keeps piling up, and the blood stains that are splattered all over the White House can no longer be whitewashed by previously compliant lapdog media that is also finally coming to attention. And I think one of the reasons why the VA scandal has been so treacherous for the administration is that you can't just blame it on Glenn Beck and Michele Malkin and rabid opponents of Barack Obama, because so many of those stories are coming out of local media outlets that are committed to covering their veteran population. So you can't squelch that. Well, then what do? Hey, you send Biden to the Air Force Academy and Obama to West Point and then to Afghanistan and then back home to stand by the Bergdahl parents who opened their mouths and reveal very compelling truths about where these people really stand.
Okay, so
in terms of Gizmo, of course, you still have this outlying problem related to Benghazi that the lead suspect, who is still wandering around and had sipping smoothies and teas with New York Times reporters, was somebody who was, released from Gitmo.
Let me go back to the parents of Bergdahl. Now, one of the former CIA agents who has been really credible in the past, she comes out and she says that, and play this audio because I think it's important to really, it's bizarre how we didn't notice this right off the bat. The father steps to the microphone and says, I want to speak to my son, but because he probably doesn't speak English anymore, which makes no sense, because he probably doesn't speak English anymore, he may not understand me, so I'm gonna speak in Pashto. So he says something, and we know now what he said was, hang on, let me get it. Who has it? Stu, you have it. I don't.
While you look, I'll play it.
I'd like to say to Bo right now, who's having trouble speaking English.
Speaking English.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem.
Now listen what he says here.
I'm your father, Bo. The people of Afghanistan, the same. Khalifa al-Thani.
Okay, stop. So he says, and I don't have it here, but basically the translation is, in the name of all of the blessed, the merciful, yada, yada,
right.
yada.
Yes.
And so he says only that in Pashto. And then he follows it in English saying, hey, Bo, I'm your father. I thought you just said that he couldn't speak English. So what was he doing, Michelle? Claire Lopez says he was claiming that's Islamic ritual, and he was laying claim for Allah to the White House. Yeah,
it's surreal, but of course, in many figurative ways, the jihad flag has flown over the White House, and there are many American soldiers who've given their lives while we are kowtowing and capitulating to the Taliban. I mean, I've said many times, all of the donors who have been tied to jihad, all of the donors who've been tied to jihad, who appear in the White House visitor logs, and, well, this was the Taliban's key guy right here, and they rolled the welcome mat out for him, didn't they?
I don't even know what to say. Do you think that, because I've even seen Chris Matthews starting to turn. The thrill is gone. We should play some B.B. King every time that we see Chris Matthews. But I'm seeing people now starting to turn on the president. They're now actually starting to use the word impeachment. And it's not Republicans that are saying that. This is coming from, when you have Jeffrey Toobin say, he clearly broke the law here. What happens here, Michelle? Anything?
Well, I think that there is a serious case for impeachment, and there are serious people on my side of the aisle who have made it, Andrew McCarthy, for example, and others. But I think that if there is going to be any movement, it's going to be because of bipartisan disgust with this. And I think it's the one issue when we're dealing with the men and women in uniform who put their lives on the line for us, and their commander-in-chief betrays them and endangers them even further. And again, I think for me anyway, it behooves me to remind people that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and that all of the others who've been abandoned and left behind by this president have to be remembered as well.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious to Benghazi to Bastion to Christopher Spear, whose widow, by the way, is now suing one of the Gitmo detainees who was released by the Obama administration to Canada, Omar Khadr, who's been a pet cause of the liberal left and the kind of transnationalists who are embedded at the Justice Department.
Michele Malkin, thank you for everything you do. I mean, you are really, truly one of my heroes. There are very few people that just will not sit down, and you are one of them. And I'm in awe of you. I really am. And I thank you for being a friend. I thank you for being an American. And also thank you for being a part of our event on the 22nd of July in the movie theaters. Thanks, Michele.
Thank you, Glenn.
MichelleMalkin.com. And by the way, if you want to see her at the movie theater with us, WeWillNotConform.com. You can get your tickets for that event. WeWillNotConform.com.
And tickets go on sale June 12th, but if you could sign up there, and then you get all the information on where the theaters are going to be, and
there's 600 of them nationwide, and this is one of these things that you bring a friend that does not agree. We have people that are going to be a part of this event that don't agree with me on stuff. This is a bipartisan thing. We've got big, huge liberals that are part of this that can say, I don't agree with Glenn Beck. This is not about that. I don't agree with Glenn Beck on many things. On this, we stand together. Don't miss that in movie theaters, July 22nd, a live event. You bring your cell phone because you will be able to interact with us. We need your feedback as we move on and put an action plan together for the nation on Common Core.
Again, it's in 37 different languages in case you spent any time outside this country. 37 different
We will
languages.
not conform.com, and we won't be dedicating it to Allah or anything like that.